that goes into what?
No, I have this idea of me walking into a house and some old lady is there with her fucking oxygen container, and I'm like, "You got 30 days, Grandma. You better pack your shit up. You better wheel yourself in out of here."
You've like upped. I'm so happy, man. Like I like you've upped your game like so much on so many levels. It's really crazy. And like you're already doing like really well, but like there's like a lot of stuff that you could just do better, and you did.
Yeah, but I mean, like this is kind of what I was talking to you about before when you were here, right? How I feel like if because the way that I see it is, if you're a reasonably intelligent person, if you surround yourself with successful people, you can't take nothing from that. Like you have to pick up something, right? Like even just you, like it sounds dumb, but like you being here and me picking up that reading habit from you might actually be like one of the largest game changers in my life over the next like 5 or 10 years, right? Like, so for instance, like you memed about buying Jordan Peterson's book, but I could actually do that now, and I could actually have like a substantial critique of him because I'll have actually read the book just because I don't have anything else to read now. Like that's actually possible to do now because I've ripped that habit from you, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And like, if you think about it, if you even read 1 book a month, right, and you read 12 books a year, then, and you span it over 5 years and you're 60 books ahead, it's actually like, that's a lot. Like that's way ahead of what almost anybody else is like educated on doing. And you're reading books that are a focal point on that subject.
Yeah, for
Plus
sure.
everything you're doing on stream.
Yeah, there's that shit. And then the thing about being more precise with timetables on emails, like it's not even like big shit, but like I feel like this is my feeling, and maybe it's harder for you to understand this because I don't know how much you've spent of your professional life living in the middle of fucking nowhere. But like if I'm around a bunch of people that are really successful, it's really hard not to pick up something. Like you kind of have to, or at least I feel like I have to, because I would feel dumb like staying in the same spot, accomplishing or doing nothing if I was around a bunch of people like you or Dan or whatever, right? Well, no, you and maybe Dan a little bit.
Thanks, man. That means a lot to me. That's awesome.
I have good habits. How fucking dare you?
If I hung around Dan too much, I'd probably start fucking buying up real estate. That would be the end of my life right there.
Yeah, you'd be wearing shorts.
Oh, by the way, I saw that fucking clip of Wreckful the other day. That was some fucking stupid shit. All right, well, I couldn't believe that when I heard that.
Wait, what clip?
Saying don't get real estate because Amazon's going higher and higher. I mean, I don't even know how to respond to that.
Wait, well, Wreckful is
Wreckful trades securities. Yeah, no, he's not real estate.
No, I know he's very good at trading securities. Yeah, but he's not in real estate.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's the old quote: is never trust a fat doctor. And sometimes he, I mean, he's probably not that knowledgeable in that. Dan, do you do real estate? Like a lot of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what do you mean by don't? Wait, what do you mean by don't trust a fat doctor about Wreckful?
If he doesn't trade real estate or he doesn't do real estate, why would you trust him?
Oh, sure. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
He's done well in his stock stuff for sure. Yeah, but yeah, for real estate,
that doesn't make him.
That doesn't make him knowledgeable in real estate. No, for sure. Wreckful's way of looking at it was similar to the way that I would look at it, where it's like with real estate, it's a highly risky, volatile, undiversified asset, and you can make, I don't want to say guaranteed, but you can make really good returns in the markets, especially over the past 2 or 3 years. Insane. And you're so much more diversified against all types of risk. And then real estate requires more active management, right? With a stock, you kind of buy it and forget it, not like long term, but like you buy it and you just kind of keep tabs on it. With a real estate, yeah, sure. But I mean, like,
completely disagree. Yeah, I actually disagree. Everything you're saying is so wrong.
Wait, what am I saying that's so wrong?
I actually disagree too.
Because with stocks, that's the risky shit. Stocks are risky. Most stocks aren't going to give any meaningful dividends. You're going to have something that can go down or up or stay static. Whereas with real estate, you're getting an income stream. Depending on where you have the asset itself appreciating. You're able to leverage to buy it, which you can't effectively do with stocks.
Okay, we can't have this. To really have this discussion, we would have to go into quantifiable data, because you're going to give me a story right now that sounds good.
No, I'm not going to give you a story.
Well, yeah, because here's the story you're giving me. You're saying, well, stocks can have shitty dividends, and sometimes the stock might go up or down, and stocks are very highly diversified. With real estate, you get a stream of income. The asset can be appreciating. That's the story you're telling me right now. I can tell you another story where I say, well, with the stock, I can buy it and sell it very easily at any time. It's very easy to liquidate. I can make massive gains on a stock, and then I could sell it and move to another one. But with real estate, the value might depreciate. I might not be able to get anybody to fill the actual thing. I might get a bad renter that destroys the fucking property. And it's very highly undiversified. If one bad thing happens in California, it can affect all of my real estate, as opposed to a security that I can liquidate. Like, we can tell stories all day, right? It just depends at the end of the day.
Well, it seems like you're putting a tremendous amount of value on the ability to liquidate something right away, which doesn't seem like that should be that important unless you're literally.
I mean, if your shit is starting to depreciate, liquidating it is kind of important. No,
the whole stocks though is that you can't really just leave them alone and expect them to do well. Like, you can do that for an ETF in the S&P 500 and expect to gain 5 to 7% per year on average.
No, sure. When I say leave it alone, I mean I don't think that for securities, you're not normally buying and selling in these 24-hour time frames. I don't think that's what Wreckful normally does.
Wreckful does options, doesn't he? If I'm not mistaken.
I mean, sometimes he does, but
Well, I'd be curious to ask him where the majority of his income is coming from. If it's, and I would guess, right, it's either options or short-term securities. Short-term defined as like,
no, you're probably right, because I think, window. Yeah, because some of his huge gains have come from puts.
Yeah, like stuff like Twitter and shit like that. I know he made a lot of money off that and things like that. So the thing with Reckful to keep in mind, I don't want to speak for him, but I'm pretty sure if I talk to him, he'd agree with this. He loses, he has a lot of big losses, right?
Yeah, sure.
But his wins are bigger than his losses.
Yeah, for sure.
So and he also talks about his wins and not as much of his losses. So like when you hear that he gets, I don't know, he said he made that like some huge amount on Twitter or something. That's not taking into account all of the like options that didn't work out, right? It's just like, so those are probably generally like short-term trades.
Sure.
As defined by like probably even less than 15-day time frames. We have to ask him. But
yeah, I mean, he talks about his losses sometimes, but I imagine it's annoying to talk about because people can't like contextualize that, right?
Well, nobody in Twitch tech can fucking conceive the level he's trading at anyway.
Yeah,
like he's.
Well, I mean, like people, there are a lot of people I know that like remember the fact that Reckful has like lost like 100,000 in a trade, and that's like all they know about him, and they think he's like a horribly shit. Yeah, so I mean,
I'm just saying, there's huge gains that can be had in real estate if you think about things objectively as well, and you don't need to be there on the pulse of doing stuff. It's a little bit of waiting and seeing, but you know, you have static income from it. You can have, if you do things right, an asset that appreciates. And just the main thing is that the government wants you to own real estate, and you have all these advantages that just are not present there with stocks. That alone almost makes it worth it to seriously consider real estate. The downside being is that, yeah, you have to deal with human problems, so bad tenants, building managers that might give you, you know, be a pain in the ass. Like these are the trade-offs, but the good parts of it make up for it significantly.
The one thing I agree with Dan on is that probably real estate has a longer window that you can sit on it safely than securities do. I can't think of many companies outside of tech in the last like in recent memory where you would like gain a really crazy amount by just sitting on the security.
I guess the crazy thing is just how attached, or it seems like I can understand somebody like Reckful especially, and even myself to some extent, like buying real estate. I feel like you're so much more involved in that process than just even trading options. Like
it's not. Can I give you my anecdotal situation that I have?
Trade options, by the way.
You don't think what?
I don't think anybody should trade options.
Well, no, but I'm saying like if you wanted to, like your commitment, like finding a house, you know, purchasing it, getting a property manager,
it seems like a lot more. Yeah,
you're like a lot more committed to having like that's
For the initial onset, my anecdotal, so I have an apartment building in San Francisco. I just want to, and I know this is atypical, but I want to give you the level of involvement. So maybe this is the upside that you can expect. So I found an apartment building in San Francisco, I think in 2010, okay? And I bought that place, I leveraged, so I didn't buy it all in cash. I could have, chose not to. So I put down 400K. The place was 1.4 when I bought it. And then after owning it, I put more money into it, remodeling it. Okay. Now that same building right there is worth over $5 million. I have probably total of my own money less than $1 million into it. The place is worth more than 5 right now, and I take in more than 30 grand a month. And in the period, I mean, I don't know how that's like more than 5 years. So I've almost made half of my money back just collecting rent at this point, doing nothing else.
Okay,
so
sure, but what if you would have sunk that same money into like Amazon stock or even Amazon stock?
You think that'd be up? Let's see. You think I'd be up 6x if I put it in Amazon?
How long ago?
Yeah, like 2010, right?
Well, what I'm curious about
in 2010,
is that,
hold on,
is that something you can normally expect from as a return from like a real estate deal? Like you also own you own that warehouse in New York now, right? Also, you bought that, right? Okay, so yeah, and like
okay, if you would have put that money in, hold on, real quick, if you would have put that money in 2010, you would be up 1,475%.
Love you.
Holy fuck.
Okay, well that's with Amazon.
Yeah, but you also sound like you have like a really good deal too. Like,
but you would also, Steven, you would also have to have the foresight to know that Amazon was going to be that kind of company.
Sure, but like, can't we play these same games with real estate? Like, wouldn't you have to have the foresight to know that?
No, because there's not the downside protection. You knew buying a house, there's a floor value, especially.
Whoa, people felt that way in 2000 up to 2007.
Okay, let's take Omaha.
Yeah, but if you
there's a cost to build a house. Okay, there's a cost to build a house, especially land values.
No, that's not
like that.
true. Those costs can be inflated based on the current markets, though.
But Steven, if you even in the 2008 crash or whatever, if you held on to that house and you had it now, it would be worth way more. But
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if every single place is recovered in that way. I don't think that's true across real estate. I'm talking on my ass a little bit, going by what I know of my parents' house in Florida, because I know that hasn't recovered in value and a lot of things in the neighborhood. But that might be specific. So if someone in chat knows more about that, I could be wrong. I'm sure that like major areas, so like LA, New York, Seattle, like these places, like Austin, these places have probably recovered. But I don't know if every place recovered after the housing crash.
Even if every one of them didn't, if 95% of them did, so like like I guess what the picture that Dan is trying to paint, I think, is that in general, real estate is actually less risky than securities. Is that right, Dan?
Yeah, there's no ongoing work. I don't do anything.
And I would actually agree with that.
I guess like the way that I look at it, and maybe I'm just applying a heuristic that's too simple for this, and I shouldn't be doing it. Is it like Dan is selling me a deal that sounds too good to be true? That's the only reason why I don't believe it. I guess
Which
like
is what?
That I could just dump a ton of money into real estate and consistently outperform the markets. That just sounds impossible to me. Then why doesn't everybody do it?
I'll tell you right now. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Because everybody doesn't have a fucing $100,000 in free flow cash like you do to be able to do it. That is why. Because people can't invest in real estate because their income isn't sufficient to do it. So
if I was an intelligent person right now, I would just empty my I would liquidate all my ETFs and I would just go and fucking leverage that on real estate.
You would diversify. I diversify. I'm diversified all over the fucking place. I'm just saying real estate is an important part of that diversification. For sure. There's no way you would ever catch me having all of my stuff in stocks and nothing in real estate. Real estate is a good meme for a fucking reason, because there's, again, for no other reason besides the fact that the government gives you 1,001 fucking reasons to buy real estate. There's
but those reasons, those incentives have to be priced into the real estate already, though. That has to be there.
I mean, no, Steven. So Steven, I'll use an analogy in securities. Okay, do you know like hedge funds? Do you know what an accredited investor is?
Somebody that's authorized to borrow like a fuck ton of money or something from big banks or something, right? No?
An accredited investor is a person who earns either $250,000 a year or has a net worth of over $1 million, okay?
Oh, okay,
An accredited investor is a very specific type of thing. It's an actual thing that you are, okay?
Gotcha.
If you are an accredited investor, you have access to securities that other people literally do not have access to. They cannot legally invest in them.
Okay.
And those securities are usually hedge funds. So if you invest in a hedge fund as an accredited investor, you could expect much higher returns than other securities that poor people literally can't invest in.
Wait,
right?
how much money do I need to be an accredited investor?
You are. I just told you exactly. $250,000 a year in net income, or $1 million in cash assets.
Cash assets. Yep. So that doesn't include like house and car, right? That's like securities.
No, it can. No, it can. It can. 100% it can.
I don't think it can.
100% it can.
I'll look it up
I've done a lot of startup investing. I know for a fact it can. You just have to show that the equity that you have in it is up to that value.
Oh, okay. Wait, and then I can just buy Wait, how do I buy hedge funds? What site can I do that on Vanguard?
Well, one way you can kind of get into it. So there's a site called Angel List, right? And the Angel List is where all of the tech startups, for the most part, will list their stuff for fundraising. You have to be an accredited investor to go on there. But they have funds on there. They have funds that are on there as well.
Correct on the net assets over thing. So,
but it's equity in the asset. It's equity in the asset, right? Yeah.
Yep. So if you had a
Wait. So like, what is like a hedge fund return as opposed to like stock market returns?
You can expect 10 to 15% from hedge funds, no problem, and sometimes higher, and with much more predictable results.
Wait, that sounds like cheating.
It is, yeah.
What's
if you're
like
rich, you do cheat.
What's your heard the expression "the rich get richer"?
Yeah. Wait.
That's how.
What's your minimum?
What's your literally is cheating in this.
What's your minimum?
100,000.
100 grand, and then you just do you get like shares of a hedge fund, like ETF, or how does it work?
Oh no, you can go less than that on AngelList. You can do.
No, fuck this. I don't want this. I don't want AngelList. I don't want an AngelList.
My bad. It's only where Sequoia and all the biggest VC funds in the country list their shit.
Listen, I'm not a VC here. Okay,
if you want to have a real conversation about this offline, we can do it. I could introduce you to a bunch of people. Okay, hedge funds could expect a much higher return, and so that's the point. It's like Dan. Fuck, I was originally trying to support you on this because what I'm saying is that barrier exists in real estate, but it's a what do they call it when it's like a phantom barrier? It's sure a person that makes 30K a year could buy an apartment complex in theory, right? But they're never going to be able to because they don't. Yeah, they're never going to be able to because they don't have the initial income. They're never going to get a loan approved. And what Dan is saying about real estate, something that Dan said that was really fucking smart, is what you can't do in securities is leverage money. But
you can. It's called options. But no, I know what you mean. Yeah, you're right. You can
shit,
leverage money because you only have to put like 20% down or whatever, and you leverage a huge amount of money to make a bigger income from.
You can take a loan out for real estate property and then have your rent or your income from it pay back the loan.
Yeah, pay back.
And there's such a huge disparity on that as well. Like you can borrow money at like 3.5% IO, and you could be taking in the equivalent of like, you know, depending on the cap, 7 to 10%. Like that's insane. So you want to borrow as much as you can. You can leverage the fuck out of shit. It's like a huge advantage.
Oh wait, that Warren Buffett challenge was over managed hedge funds, wasn't it?
I have no idea.
What?
Wait, fuck hedge funds. Never mind.
Oh, don't do this. I know what meme you're gonna pull, right? You're gonna be like, hedge funds don't outperform the market.
Yeah, that's the meme I was gonna pull. Wait, tell me what.
Yes, they fucking do. It's that there's a difference between hedge funds that are publicly managed by people like Charles Schwab and people like Fidelity, which those, yes, they don't outperform the market very rarely, and private hedge funds that you can invest in, which almost always outperform the market. So the stats on it are like, let's see, what did they say? It was something like, is it like 90% or 92% of hedge funds don't outperform the market? Okay, this is the 8% that do. They're behind private walls that you can, like, if you invest with Ray Dalio's guys at Bridgewater, any of those dudes, they've outperformed the market for like 40 straight years.
Can you source me this? Is this like recorded somewhere?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've read. You can just check out Bridgewater. Yeah, like Bridgewater is a good example of it's like regularly outperformed. They have a method called the all season portfolio.
Wait, where can I see like their like history, like return history?
They're actually, by the way, there's a meme going on right now. I think like as of right now, they're not doing as well, but for some like a million years, they've been doing really good.
Wait a minute, I have something you can do right now, Steven. You can get a huge return. So you want to move to California, right?
Yeah.
Okay, listen, there is an opportunity for you. Okay, it's a big opportunity, and you might love it as your inner capitalist. Okay, so as you know, just hear me out. Various districts inside California have rent control, and rent control basically. I am
aware. Are you about to Airbnb some shit?
No. We're not Airbnb-ing stuff. We're kicking out some freeloaders. This is when someone's in a for your audience how it works. Let's say I own an apartment building, okay, and you move in there 10 years ago and you're paying $2,000 a month. I cannot increase your rent today to $10,000 a month just because I want to. I am limited by the county to go up only a certain amount, usually 1 to 2% a year. So I can make your $2,000 rent go to like $2,100 or whatever the fuck that it is. Now, there's only one way that you can kick that freeloader out. Because it's not like you can refuse.
Fucking slumlord Dan, dude.
There's a lot of money. All right. There's only one way you can kick them out. Okay. One, because contracts renew in rent control. You can't just say, I don't want to renew your lease. No, they automatically renew. There's one way that you can do it. You know what that is, Steven?
Hire somebody to go break all their windows to scare them out of their apartment. What?
An owner move-in. If you buy a property and you say, I intend to live into this apartment, you can get them out of there. It's one of the only ways. And you're in an opportunity, so you could find a property.
Okay, so what I need to do, find a property in a rent control area, buy the property from the property.
That's paying nothing.
With a tenant that's paying, that's getting super advantage.
Some elderly person paying $200 a month. They've been there since the 30s. They don't want to leave. You say, hey, guess what? See you later. And they're like, oh,
how long do you have to serve the eviction notice in advance for? Like 60 days or some shit, or what?
Yeah, well, no, it's a set. There's a whole set of rules behind that, but they have a certain amount of time. But there's no defense.
And then after I kick them out, my goal then would be to rent it.
Well, no, you got to live there for a year. But after you do that, you know how much value you've increased, because essentially you've opened up an apartment that was only making $200 a month to now like $5,000 or $6,000 a month.
Okay, so again, the reason I'm not believing you, hold on, because my common sense like scam radar is going off. If this was so easy to do, why wouldn't everybody do this?
Because it takes money to do it, and you have to move into the apartment.
Okay, Steven, wait. It's time for a really important meme.
Yeah, do it.
Okay. So, all right. This is actually a really important meme, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so, there is a lot of things that, and this could also sound like really pretentious, but just bear with me, okay?
Yeah, go for it.
There's a lot of things that seem common sense to you, that people will never act on or actionably do, because the barrier to entry of these things is just too complicated for the average person. So
yeah, but there's a lot of people with money out there that would do it, no?
There's a lot of stupid money, and there's not a lot of people that manage them. Like, so what we're talking, as much as Dan is a fucking memer and shit, like, he's very intelligent with his investment decisions, right? He's managed to hold on to a lot of money and keep it and grow it. And he does that because he's making what I would say is informed financial decisions. And so there are a lot of people that have money, but they don't make informed financial decisions, right? I can show you every esports player in the book that makes 500 to 800K a year and makes the
I'm not comparing to fucking esports shitters.
Right.
Just like people that have money in general. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is there are, when you look at something like real estate, right? There is some level of work that goes into what?
No, I have this idea of me walking into a house and some old lady is there with her fucking oxygen container, and I'm like, "You got 30 days, Grandma. You better pack your shit up. You better wheel yourself in out of here. You better call fucking.
Yeah, can you do it?
You better call little Susie to come over here and help you pack your fucking shit up."
That's the difference. Will you do it?
First of all,
because you're saying, why don't people do it? That's
Dan,
why.
At the same time, you have a problem too, okay? Dan, your problem is that you underestimate the fact that Steven wants to make the most amount of money for the least amount of work possible, okay? So he doesn't want to have to go in and fucking confront a fucking grandma and fucking kick her ass out of a place.
God damn, that sounds savage. I mean, I would stream the whole process too. That sounds like some good-ass YouTube content.
I mean, it's the law. I mean, it's okay. No one likes doing it, but like there's a law in place, and it also comes down to the... It comes down to the fundamentals. Do you think that renting in a place means you have a lifetime right to be there forever? Because that doesn't, to me, drive. I think that.
No, but I'm basically saying like, hey, listen, I can make a little bit more money, even though I already have a fuck ton.
A little bit more money? A lot more money.
Well, no, a little bit in terms of like the marginal improvement it'll provide to my life will be like almost non-existent.
I want you,
but I'm gonna be totally destroying another person's like life to do.
I thought you were the whole ego thing.
This is like King Kong, dude. No, I'm not an asshole. What the fuck? I'm a nice guy.
It's not an asshole. It's the law of the fucking land. What?
Dan is literally lawful evil, dude. This is like
it's not lawful evil.
It's lawful evil.
Law. What the fuck? Okay, if I buy a house, oh, you want to live here? My fucking you want to fuck my wife? Well, it says that I should probably let that happen. Fuck that. No, I bought this place. I want to move in. Get the fuck out, Grandma. The fuck you think this is? The hotel? Okay. Go move back to fucking Nevada where rent is cheap.
Nevada.
That's the law.
All right.
Whatever.
You're going to draw my ire, Dan. All right.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, what if I donate like 30% of my profits to like some homeless shelter that this person's going to be living in like after?
We're using a very extreme example.
Did you see this picture,
it's not
Devin?
some fucking... It's not. Listen.
Fucking Steven's stream right now, dude.
I see it. Listen, usually it's not a grandma. And in fact, it's never a grandma because they're a protected class and you can't kick them out. Anyone over 50 or things like that, you can't do. That's
Wait, I thought you can't do it due to their age, though. Like, you can do it for other reasons,
no? You can't do it to an age. So if you're a protected class, like at least in San Francisco, there's protected classes. And that means
sometimes I feel like if drowning kittens had like a really high ROI, like you would just do it. And like,
I mean, did you know that there's like these
kittens? Like
there's these like horseshoe crabs, and people milk them for their blood, and it's worth like it's the most valuable substance. And I was like, damn, that's a good business.
Why aren't you in the crab milking market, dude?
I don't know, dude. I should be, man. Those horseshoe crab blood is worth serious shekels. I don't know, but no, you can't do it to protected classes. Realistically speaking, you're going to be evicting someone who's most likely between the age of like 30 and 50, who's been there for like 10
Steven,
to 15
this sucks.
years.
Like this is so much. This is like so much work you don't want to do.
I'm just giving him away that he can buy something there and pick up an easy, like, probably 300 to 400K in value just because he would be willing to move in. As to why they don't happen more often, it's because people aren't willing to buy a property and move in it. Most people with a lot of money who do this type of mechanism, they have tons of properties. They're not going to buy a fucking 2-unit
Okay, I'll put this on my very low on my list of things I'll consider. Okay.
Oh, my bad. Just
the one thing that I do, like the one thinking that you should change though, is like if this is so easy, why don't other people do it? Because that thinking is like, oh shit, this is like your explosive philosophical meme thing that you call it, right? It's if it's so easy, why doesn't everybody dress well? If it's so easy, why doesn't everybody update their Instagram? If it's so easy, why doesn't every streamer have?
Oh well, no. Well, no. This is a more complicated statement than that, right? It's if this is so easy, why don't people do it while taking into account the barriers for entry? So, for instance, like if I'm playing StarCraft and I notice like a certain strategy that's like really good, and I'm like, oh well, why don't bronze people do that? Well, obviously because they don't have the mechanics, right? So you've presented me with something that I haven't considered before, and that's just that the financial capital required to do this is something that not everybody possesses. And then also, there's probably a sweet spot for financial capital here as well. Like making like 200 to 400K a year probably puts you in a good spot to do this. But if you're making significantly more than that, you wouldn't waste your time doing this. You would have better financial opportunities available to you. And people that don't have the financial capital beneath that don't have this option available to them, right? That makes sense to me. right?
Yeah, so it's like this little sliver of people.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So that makes sense. Yeah.
Even if they do have the financial capital, I'm telling you, they're not likely to be able to pursue it because they just don't have the they don't have like the mind space. It's hard to explain why. But in the same, so like the analogy that I would use across the board, right, is like look at Twitch streamers, right? There's a lot of best practices that Twitch streamers could be doing to be able to grow their shows and to be able to do more. And a lot of this stuff would be very simple to someone like you or I, right?
Maybe
but it's stuff that they won't do.
I don't think it's analogous because like Twitch streaming is super fucking new and mysterious and is growing and is exponentially exploding and it's like crazy. But real estate has been something that's existed for how many centuries? What do you call 1,000? Wait, a century is 100 years, right?
Millennium.
Why would the amount of time
that's 1,000 years?
Why would the amount of time? Because it gives people more time to figure things out. Like streaming is not solved by any sense of the imagination. Like I'm sure some.
How about like investing? That's been around since 1910 too, but most people don't invest intelligently into like. Okay, wait.
No. Actually, investing is the best example to use because like 99% of individual investors don't beat the market. So I think that's a great example. Like for people that think they have shit figured, unless you're literally like one of like the top fucking.
But you can literally look right at anything, and you can like John Bogle's book, right? That little red book, I don't remember what it's called, and you can just unequivocally look at it and say, okay, if I just toss money every month into the S&P 500, right, a Vanguard fund, I will make money. I will make a ton of money in 30 years. Okay. It's just guaranteed.
Yeah,
it's right, and no one does it.
Well, that's because people have really bad spending habits and negative savings rates and don't know how to financially manage.
That's exactly my point. But that's a very easy concept, right? It's been around forever. It's been like that you can always invest in the market and grow money. Why don't people do it? I'm telling you, people are fucking dumb.
Yeah, but I look at real estate as more of a competitive environment, right? Whereas like just randomly saving money is a choice you do or you don't, but that's whatever. But if I see an area where like, well, if I put in $100,000 here, I can make a fuck ton of money. My question would be like, well, what about all these other people with money? Why aren't they doing it? Not like I'm comparing myself to the average fucking dumbass American that doesn't know how to save their fucking paycheck, right?
So I guess you're just maybe overestimating the people that have like high net worths for like in their intelligence.
Yeah, because I would consider real estate to be an area that's largely solved. That like people know the optimal moves to make here, and I'm not going to come in and do something crazy with no background experience whatsoever. That seems hard for me to buy.
Well, wait, but there's people with tremendous amounts of money that do real estate all the time.
Yeah, so like my earlier question was, why wouldn't they just kick all these people out?
Because I just told you they can't. They don't have the ability to move.
Well, yeah, that's why I told you that understanding now that there's like that gate on terms of like gating it behind having to live there and whatnot. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, and each one of these things takes a certain amount of mind share to understand the facts doing it as well. Like a person, one thing I have is you only have so much like excitement capital, so to speak, that you can work with, right? And that's like how many projects in tandem can you work on and stay motivated and stay educated on at once. And like for me, that's like, okay, I want to make sure that I stay up with tech. I want to make sure that I stay up with real estate. And, you know, those are the two things that I kind of focus on the most. But you can't do 100 things at once. And in order to do...
So if I wanted to make a lot of money doing this, I should just go right now and make like 10 kids. And then I could make all of them move into these houses when they're 18 and kick out. Because if I have like 10 kids, when they all turn 18, I can have all of them move into these houses to kick out the people and then increase the value of the house.
They need to be a 30% donor, but yes.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I could make sure I could hire them for me. Holy shit, I save money on my taxes, giving them the money. Oh my God, like this is a foolproof plan.
Yeah, but you're saying why don't people do this? It's because like there's probably better opportunities if like that's your goal to do it. This is just one that people don't do. There's the barrier of like, I don't want to be that guy evicting someone. There's the barrier of like, I actually have to move to a place that has rent control. There's the barrier of the fact that properties in these areas are typically pretty expensive. Like all of these things come in place, and the pool of people who are willing to do this gets so small, but it's one of the best opportunities that you can do if you can fit into that pool. And I'm saying you could fit into that pool right now from what I've seen. I'll tell you this, it's a good enough deal that I've seriously considered going back and doing it again. Like moving from Miami Beach out there to like finding, like I buy luxury properties. So the people I'm evicting are not like fucking grandmas or anything like that, but like to move back to San Francisco and do an owner move-in on one of the properties. Absolutely. I mean, because you're talking about like, you do this thing, which will cost you like 30 to 50 grand to do the whole eviction process. And you literally pick up, you know, it could be up to $500,000 just by going through and doing that.
I don't know. I think Steven, you should look into some really high quality hedge funds.
Okay, that'll be my thing after I move to.
Well, let's have a conversation about it offline. I don't want to deal with like
with Twitch backseating your investment.
Yeah, because it's gonna be a lot of really dumb shit. Yeah.
I feel like Kanye West has become a less entertaining version of Shia LaBeouf.
can't stand fucking streaming at the same time as fucking listening
to
people.
Don't care.
Holy
like,
shit!
How many of them know anything?
Wait, what's wrong? I just came back. Why are you mad? What happened? Is Dan trashing Facebook?
No. I'm not. No. There was nothing like that. I was saying that like the fucking financial experts in Twitch chat just blow my fucking mind, dude. The people.
Dude, if it was up to them, there'd be a fucking complete wealth redistribution of everyone. Like that whole rent control thing. The amount of people like, oh my god, like who unironically thinks that you should be able to rent somewhere and stay there forever. Like that's it. Like. Do people actually believe this shit? That's what I don't fucking understand.
I think the problem is more that like you've lived in an area your whole life, and now since businesses are growing, this house that you used to be able to live in and afford has suddenly become completely and totally unaffordable to you. And like moving houses or moving to different cities for some people is pretty inconceivable, especially if you're like 50, 60 years old and you've lived there for 30 or 40 years.
So you think it's okay if I go, if I move to Aspen, that I should be able to stay there the rest of my life?
It's not a matter of it being okay. It's a matter of you have to understand that sometimes in life you have to make a decision and there is no like clear-cut good answer. Like the idea that like you would go to somebody that's lived someplace for 40 years like, oh, so you thought that you could live here for your whole life? I mean, like if you bully this person hard enough, they'd probably be like, well, I mean, I guess not. But man, it feels really shitty that because businesses are growing around here, I'm priced out of where I've lived for my entire life. Like that just feels really shitty to some people, I think.
I understand that, but I also feel like, there's protections around that. And these people chose instead of, doing one thing or the other, they're renting in a certain spot. I mean, I don't
know if they've been there for 20 or 30 years. I don't know if they chose it knowing that the price would increase massively in the next 3 decades.
So what's your thought? Do you think that, do you think rent control is a good thing?
I don't know the No, I don't like any type of price controls. I don't know the intricacies of why you fucking idiots all have to move to San Francisco or LA or whatever. I don't know why that happens. I don't know why businesses don't move out more. I don't understand why engineers that make 6-figure incomes cry that they can't afford to live in San Francisco. I don't know why it's so important that you have to be there. I'm not sure, actually. I don't know.
Wait, you don't?
Well, I mean, I know it's a massive bustling of opportunity.
You do know why.
Yeah, well, I mean,
proximity.
Yeah, of course. But like, can none of these businesses like start up anywhere else? You can't get like a conglomerate of business start up in Austin or some shit. I know they're starting.
Well, that's happening.
Yeah, no, I know it's starting to.
Number one, that's starting to happen because so this is all just supply and demand, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course. Well,
when San Francisco gets insane enough and literally it becomes unsustainable to hire an engineer there for less than $300K a year, they will move to places like Austin, Nevada.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but like in the meantime, the opportunity. The opportunity that is available in a place like San Francisco is immense for these companies. And like, I think you see, so Seattle is a really good example of this, right? I've been looking at Seattle really carefully because I'm moving there. Redmond, which is like sort of where I'm moving like to downtown Redmond, right? Redmond is really interesting because it's the central sort of battleground between Microsoft, Amazon, and then Google and Facebook have come there and SpaceX have come there. And the only thing they do is they set up satellites so they can recruit out of Seattle.
Sure.
So like, California, basically what happened was like California became nuts. And a lot of these major companies like Microsoft, Amazon, etc., built in Seattle because Washington was more favorable to them. And because Seattle Seattle's sort of like the second tech hub of San Francisco. Then Seattle is the same thing's going to happen. It's going to be fucking insane to live in Redmond in a few years. It's like going to be just like impossible, right? Like Facebook just bought 80,000 square feet of office space there. People are going to be moving in and the same thing's going to happen. Then they moved to Austin. So this is like something that's going to happen, a lot. And then I think like only either California is going to have to like change things in San Francisco or like they're going to start losing business. They're going to start bleeding business like a lot.
Yeah. I just don't understand then what I don't understand or what I don't quite understand is why people ever complain about rent in like LA or San Francisco. I just don't get that. Because like it seems like a pretty easy choice. You see the job you're going to get, and then if you're going to make enough money, then it's worth it for you to move there. Otherwise, why bitch about the rent? I just don't understand that mindset, right? So like I'm looking at places to live in LA, or not LA, but around it, and I understand that I'm probably gonna have to pay at least $2,000 a month in rent, if not $3,000, maybe up to $4,000 a month in rent. But I mean, like that's worth it for me. But like if let's say that I had to pay like $10,000 a month in rent, I mean, I wouldn't move there and complain about the rent. I would just say, well, that's way too much. It's not worth it for me. I'm not going to do it. That's what I don't understand.
What happens is maybe the rent actually outpaces the salary increases.
That could be, and then you're stuck there and you're totally fucked. And now you've got like an initial investment, so there's kind of like a barrier, not a barrier to entry, but a barrier to leaving, where you've actually invested so much in an area that you kind of get into a sunken cost thing. Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, because I think what's happening, especially in like the peninsula of San Francisco, right, is just the rent prices are going out of control, and that's why they had to do things like rent control, is because the rent price was outpacing like the average. If the average salary increase of an employee in the United States is 2 to 6%.
Yeah, the thing without getting into I mean, the thing I have problems with controls is that usually if you start doing controls like that bleed. your difference is going to start to show up in other parts of society is, I think, usually the bad thing. So like if you start putting on a rent control, let's say a place is naturally valued at $4,000 a month and you can only charge $2,000 a month, that like a lot of weird shit starts happening where people will like buy apartments up and shit and start like Airbnb-ing the fuck out of them in order to make money, and that you get into like a really weird regulatory phase that where like a lot of crazy weird shit is happening, or like that money bleeds into other places and shit gets fucked. Like, yeah, I don't know. I've read articles about that happening, but maybe overall rent control is a good thing. I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm not arguing for rent control. I was just
explaining why it happens. Yeah, sure.
Well, I was explaining why I think that California is like getting outpaced, like in terms, and why people are actually moving out of California. Like that is happening. So, and you can kind of see it almost directly in Seattle. Is like Facebook bought 80,000 square feet of office space in Seattle. They didn't buy 80,000 square feet of office space in San Francisco. And they did that because they're making it informed, right? Tesla opened up their super battery station in Nevada. They opened it up outside of Reno, and they didn't open that up in California. And that's because these companies are increasingly being forced to make these decisions as it becomes more and more unrealistic to live in a place like California.
That's good. Yeah. And I would like things to spread out more. Like, yeah.
And that's good for California in the long term too, because then they'll have to recover some of that by lowering those prices.
Yeah. Or prices will naturally start to reach an equilibrium between these places, which would probably be healthier for everybody. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And I think like what is the thing about LA though is like if you just think about your personal situation, right? Like the amount of collaboration and the amount of stuff that you can do there that's going to like rocket ship your career is enormous compared to like just staying in Omaha. So that 4K a month rent is like a super easy decision for someone like you. And that's the same thing that any kind of like same evaluation that any kind of like engineer would make. Yeah. Right.
No, I agree with that. I think opportunity, like I lost a huge opportunity cost moving here to enough that I think about going back, even though I didn't like it in that area. Like opportunity cost is major for sure. The opportunities you can get just bumping into someone at a Starbucks and things. You don't get that in Omaha. You don't get that for the most part in Miami.
You're also making decisions, I think, based on lifestyle, Dan. And like Steven and I are making decisions based more on career just because of just our position in life. Like we're not married. We don't have kids and shit. Like, so.
That's fair.
Listen, I love you too. I'll host you, Devin. Okay. So if you guys want to watch the conversation continue, wow, go there. Be careful.